What's up, buddy? F is up.
What's up, Instagram?
What's up, Instagram? Let's get into it.
Need you to crush that heart button. Okay.
Smash that like button.
What's up, guys? Do we have any mail days this week? You're back at the abode.
I am. I'm back. I do have some mail days, yes. A few things. Hold on one second. Let's see. Turn this around. So I can figure it out with these new fancy controls. So, Zane, South Park Cards, friend of ours, sent me this bad boy. Check out that.
That's awesome.
I think this is... I think that's a rookie of the year. I think this is a rookie auto.
Very cool.
I gotta put that one up next to that guy. I guess we'll have some dueling point guards here. Chris Paul having a great season, so thanks, Zane. Awesome gift. I need to get it framed now. And then I have some cards. I showed a couple on Instagram this morning. Let's see. Start with, oop, let me move this behind. A little trick I learned. You move the light behind.
Little product placement.
Oh, there we go. Well, that's what you get, Truly, for dogging me and ignoring me. Yeah, so this is, I believe, so Yamwax, Jurgen, who's in the chat, and Drake's PC tell me this is the first ever Charizard distributed and printed, created, and I'll take their word. There's like a 1995 card, but the rumor is it wasn't actually printed in 95. That's just what it says on the card because that's the company's. I think it's like their, when they got the license for it or something. It's not actually when they printed them. So the grading company's got that incorrect. And then this came out before the base set in Japan. So the first ever Charizard. I believe this is a Pop 60, and there's two variations. There's a red one and a green one. So I got the red to match, I guess, closer match Charizard. Thought that might be something. The other one I showed, I posted that I graded this myself, and people thought, oh, you were at PSA and you literally graded it yourself. I'm not sure in what world that's allowed, where you get to grade your own cards. No, I meant that I bought it, sent it in, got a 10. I feel like it's quite the feat nowadays to send it in yourself and actually get a 10 and receive it back. I feel like this is a rare occurrence these days.
Man, bing, bong, bing.
So this one's a Pop 2 now.
Wow.
And this is a rookie year, Topps Chrome Gold at a 25. Pretty slick.
Wow. That's fantastic, man. And you graded that yourself. You walked into PSA, you put on the lab coat, you decided it was a 10, and then you slabbed it yourself?
I didn't even look at it. Once I saw that it was my card, I thought, you know what? It's probably a 10. We'll see. Who knows?
Disclaimer.
That's awesome.
Disclaimer.
No,
Disclaimer.
It's sarcasm.
Yeah, no, that's a joke. Josh mailed that in a while ago.
So this was a BGS 9.5 that I had sent to PSA, got a 9. That's how it goes. But I just love gold refractors and PSA slabs better, company man. Got that one, and then same for Calvin. One of my favorite cards, though, now in a PSA slab, so happy to have that. I think this one's at a 50, and this one's at a 50. So keeping the wide receiver game going. I'm picking up a few wide receiver cards here and there. Still, it's a little bit trickier, given that I'm a little bit more picky with that stuff and kind of waiting for high-grade PSA 10 stuff for the most part. That's all I got. You got anything?
No, I don't have any yet. I will whenever the next crossover is. So next week's crossover is Christmas Eve, and then the crossover after that is New Year's Eve. So I don't know. Are we going to do crossovers on those days?
It's up to you, buddy. I'm down. New Year's Eve might be a trickier one. I think I could probably do next week, but I'll be at the in-laws most likely.
All right. Well, if we do a Christmas Eve one, I'll have a bunch of mail days. So
Boom. Oh,
Whenever the next one is, I will have mail days coming out of years.
we could do maybe a different day of the week or something. Maybe we could just do the Saturday, next Saturday. Would that be better or is that worse?
So Christmas night?
I'm kidding.
25th? Okay. I guess like the celebrating is done on the night of Christmas. I don't know. All right. Let's get into questions here. Nice mail days, buddy. All right. Diggs_cardboard wants to know, does Cardladder take into account shill bidding when inputting sales? Because he's been seeing a lot of shill bidding on eBay lately. And the answer, Diggs, is yes, we do. We absolutely take into account shill bidding. We're not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. Sometimes shilled auctions do get past our ability to try and detect them, but we make a conscientious effort to exclude shilled auctions from our database. And you can see the list of them on Cardladder on the feed every day. Just on the daily sales recap, you can see all the excluded auctions and other ones that we exclude. And then Mike asks, do we take into account drunk bidding? And yeah, we do. We bring those sales in because even if it's a drunken sale, if somebody paid, then they paid. There you go. There's what the list of exclusions on a daily basis looks like. You know, I got a couple of messages this week. People are getting really fed up with shilling seemingly happening on eBay, and people are looking at bid histories and they're saying there's a lot of zero feedback bidders getting involved here, or this just looks really fishy and suspicious. So that is one of the things that we have always prided ourselves on at Cardladder, is every single data point that comes into our database is vetted by a human being, and we do our best to try and identify shilled auctions and throw them out. Do you want to add anything, or just maybe make a comment on concerns regarding shilled auctions making their way into data sets?
Yeah, I mean, when we started doing this process, 18 months ago, it seemed like a lot of people maybe thought, it's a little bit foolish to manually do all this stuff. You guys should look at automation. We've heard that many times, but now I think it's kind of proving its worth that we were patient. We took our time getting to the point we're at. We didn't rush to get to a certain number. It's always been quality over quantity. And I think that's starting to be helpful at this point. On the shill bidding, how much of it is just because the market is kind of stagnant, going down a little bit, and people are trying to maybe like will it back up or use tricks to get it going back up? Do you feel like that's what's going on?
Yeah, there has to be a little bit of that. But, these are timeless tricks that people have done long before there was this pressure to sort of push back certain commodity cards to their all-time highs. This shilling has been an issue since one of the very first posts I ever read on Blowout when I came back to the hobby in the summer of 2016 was about shill bidding. Shill bidding is a recurring issue. People will shill to make $5 extra, or they'll shill to try and manipulate an entire market. So it's just always been an issue, and it always will be, as much as I'd like it for that not to be the case, right? So, but yeah, we do our best. I thought Josh made some great points there. That like what that amounts to is that Cardladder is the only data set in the industry that has, at this point, I don't know, many millions of data points in each of its card profiles that have all been vetted, and to the best extent possible by knowledgeable researchers, we have thrown out the shilled auctions, the sham sales, etc. So right now we are sitting on top of a pristine database, and especially when you're trying to do advanced analytics, indexes, things like that, that really matters. Okay, next question. Cards and Candy 911 showing up often. Oh, and Cards and Candy is in the chat too. We just started, buddy. Okay, so biggest takeaways from your visit to Collectors Headquarters in Southern California?
Oh man, that there are humans behind the walls, right? There's human grading, there's human humans running this building, which is good to see. We met a lot of cool people, had a lot of cool tours of the building. We got to see how it works and stuff. It was really interesting. There's a lot more to it than I had thought. You know, there's a lot of stages to it. It moves through, and every stage is very meticulously handled, right? There's like a big section of the building for each section, and they're kind of, it's worked through the system that way. And what you see online when it's moving through the 8 stages is really how it's broken down at the building as well, which is cool. The grading was fascinating, like speaking to some of the graders and getting a look behind, you know, some of their thought processes and how they look at the cards. And they actually even discussed, you know, certain aspects of the cards and what they're looking for, and like, and when they're doing crossovers, what they're looking for through the sleeves and through the slabs of BGS and stuff. So a lot of interesting stuff. Don't want to give too many details away because, you know, it is the inner workings of their company. Did you have anything that I'm missing here?
No, I just will repeat that it was amazing meeting a lot of the people there and getting to at all levels of the company, from the executive level to the on the ground, boots on the ground. Really neat, smart, capable people working over there with extremely high standards of excellence. It was a pretty good fit right off the bat, philosophically. All right. Hot Sauce Sports Cards wants to know, what's the most exciting benefit to being part of the collector's family? Also, do you see yourselves ever working on more than just analytics and data in the future?
I would say, you know, the teaming up of like-minded companies and how we think about the data side and how we are planning for the long-term future. And they said the word collectors to us, like collecting, collectors, you know, like a million times. And we spoke with Steve Sloan, the CMO. His big focus was about collectors and, you know, how can we continue to grow our customer base as collectors and move things forward. So I think that's a big benefit. And then, you know, them having the resources that they have to help us. That was a big part of the trip, is helping us expand our resource on Cardladder project and move that forward, which we're excited about. And maybe you can talk about that more. What was the other part of the question?
Do you see yourself working on more than just analytics or data in the future?
I think probably myself more so than you guys on that question, in terms of like some of the tech things that I can help with at PSA. I don't really have much specific to say there, and I don't know, is there anything else that you guys think you might do?
Well, you know, I'm not going to start grading, and we already make content. And I think the other piece to that puzzle, besides those, you kind of have like the service of sort of like grading. You have content creation, and then you have the power and use of data, and then you have sort of software development. And Josh, you know, on that Venn diagram, you kind of fall into where like analytics and data and software development overlap and content creation overlap. And, you know, for Christina and I, we definitely fall into the overlap of content creation and data and analytics. And that's just kind of the universe that we live in. So like those are things that like are very young right now. There's so much more to do in those particular categories that I feel like we've got a very full plate just focusing on those things. But maybe ask again in a year and we'll see where we're at. But we've got a lot of plans to really do analytics and data at a level that they've never been done before. Okay, so all right, let's move on. Dormant Stash says, did you get to preview the Backlog or the warehouse?
Yes, we did see a lot of cards, definitely a lot of cards. It was very well organized. I thought, like, they're organized by date submitted, so there's some sort of order to it. And I wanted to say organized chaos, but it's not really chaos. Like, it is pretty organized. It's just, there's just a lot of cards, right? A lot of orders, you could sense there's a lot of demand. They were telling us about like sort of the day that they were closing up and just how crazy the shipping room was that day and how it slowly sort of dwindled down. And the shipping room isn't as crazy because they don't have the lower services opened up. So it's kind of given them some breathing room to chip away at the backlog. But you could tell there was a lot of cards there from March, February, and April. You know, there's just like a big, big section of that. I even joked and asked, like, now that the cards, the price on that stuff has come down and the pops have come up, do any of these people just want their cards back before you grade them? Like, is there any way to like undo the decision to grade those cards? Because I would imagine some people wouldn't even want to grade it anymore. But no, they were focused on getting through that backlog, and everyone in the company takes that very seriously. That was definitely a theme that I noticed.
Yeah, well said. Certainly, though, the backlog, we were told, is much smaller now than when they were receiving something close to 1 million cards in one day back in the spring of 2020 before they shut down. Or I'm sorry, the spring of 2021 before they shut down operations for a while. So, imagine having like 1 million cards coming to your facility in one day. So certainly the backlog is nowhere near what it once was. All right, mostly 90s basketball cards. Final question on our visit. Now that you've got a couple of weeks under your belt, compare and contrast working at PSA and Collectors Universe with working at Dunder Mifflin.
I'm going to assume he's being literal and he doesn't want us to describe, working as our own business versus PSA, and he wants to actually describe Dunder Mifflin. There's as many cards there as there are sheets of paper at Dunder Mifflin.
Oh.
Pieces of paper.
Nice.
Contrast. It's not as funny. It's more serious. There's not as much fun and joke. There's not as many pranks. There's no prank.
There's no pranking.
There's no pranking because I think if you weren't a collector and you didn't know anything about cards and you went to the PSA office, you would be like, oh my gosh, why is everyone so serious about this cardboard? It seems like it just felt like it was a very, very serious thing there, which I enjoyed, and everyone there took the job very serious, and they want to make sure that they treat the customers as if the cards that they send in are the most important thing they own, and they want to make sure it gets graded properly and sent back to them.
Yeah, that's the right answer.
Angela?
Justin says Christina is Dwight, Josh is problematic Jim, and Chris is Angela. So
I'm one like when Jim wears a suit or he wears a tux to impress the new boss it's because he's making fun of Dwight, and then the new boss shows up and it's like super awkward.
All right, let's go. Now we have a PSA related question, but not related to our visit. Putnam Card says, let's discuss PSA announcing that they will be grading VeeFriends Uno cards. And so if you haven't heard what these are, Gary, the V, Lord V, posted that today I'm proud to announce that VeeFriends and Uno have collabed on the incredible Mattel brand to create a limited VeeFriends Uno game and collectible. Okay? And so then PSA made an announcement today stating that via their Instagram story that they will be grading these cards. So I have a take on this. It's going to be it's going to be a different one from a different angle that I would have never even been able to think of it this way a week ago. When Christina and I were at Collectors Universe, we spent time with some of the research team at PSA for a variety of reasons. And when we were with the research team, one of the researchers actually mentioned to us that part of their job is identifying cards, inputting, imaging cards, building checklists, things like that. And they said that one of the brightest, most memorable parts of their job over all the time that they'd been at PSA was when they got to add this really obscure miniature card set from Japan that was under the umbrella of wrestling cards. And they actually got to build the checklist for that set themselves. They were sort of part of shepherding the PSA's grading of the set. They were there at the forefront of it, and it broke up some of the monotony of seeing the same Zion, Hoops, Zion, Prism, Tatis, all the same sort of cards over and over again. It really was different, unique, and exciting. for them to do that. And for somebody or some group of people at PSA, they're going to get to build the checklist for this. And it's going to make their day more interesting and better. And it's going to provide an oddity and a unique set of cards that's going to be in that database. And I'm going to think about it from that point of view. This set is going to make somebody's day at PSA more interesting. And for that reason, I'm happy about it. How about that?
Yeah, that is an interesting answer. I feel like you're dodging the question. That was like when someone asks you how was the acting, and you're like, the lighting was really good, or like the stage setting was so fantastic, and you're like, I asked you how my acting was. That's from Friends. Yeah, there's a difference between what I think of the cards themselves and like the decision from PSA to grade them. I mean, if there's demand for people to slab these cards and collect them, like PSA is going to grade them. That's their business. But the cards themselves are pretty silly. I don't quite get it. I don't know how much more you can milk this whole VeeFriends thing, to be honest. Like we got the digital versions, then we got the drawings. Now we're getting merchandise. I don't know, whatever. I guess I don't know what else to say. We know what Gary's about, and that's making money from this stuff. So more power to him.
Yeah. And so are they playable? Do you know? Like, I don't quite understand. Are they collectibles or are they playable? I guess.
I would assume there's some collectability to them. Like, if it's just literally a card game, doesn't that open PSA up to like grading like solitaire cards, like playing deck cards?
Oh, well, you know, where does TCG fall into that?
Remember?
Into that mix as well.
The answer is no.
There's definitely, you know, a continuum that some, you know, these things will fall on from collectible to playable. So, yeah, and obviously I'm not a big Uno player because I don't really even. Did you ever play Uno?
Yes.
I've played it. I just do not remember it all.
We played this summer with your cousin.
Yeah. Okay, so we have played Uno. And you have to think about it like this. If PSA is grading them, and Gary Vee is a part of this, and they're trying to make it a collectible, there's probably going to be short prints. There's probably going to be parallels. There's probably going to be different collectible properties to this stuff. And so, of course, that stuff should be graded. It's collectibles, and it's cards. I don't think it's that difficult or complicated, really. And, you know, I've made my points on how unique oddities can add some variety, some spice to the industry.
I mean, dude, this is like these cards came from a vending machine. They're literally like from a Japanese vending machine. They're not. I mean, they are cards, and there's like some rarity to them, and it's like a set. So it has some properties, but it's like outside the TCG game. It's pretty niche. So like it just depends on where the demand is and like what people want to collect, you know.
Definitely. And it is interesting to see VeeFriends come into a tangible 2.5 by 3.5 inch form.
It's weird though. I thought he hated cards and he only liked them digital. It's weird.
I don't know. Conflicting signals here. Okay, next question. Hot sauce sports cards. Oh, when I reposted this question to my story today, a lot of people chimed in on it and were like, yes, please talk about this. This is important. And I don't quite know why. I was asking people, like, why is this so important? Maybe you'll get it better than I did. But Hot Sauce Sports Card says, let us discuss the importance of positivity within the hobby, especially on social media.
I don't know where to take this question necessarily. Positivity, like there's a wave of negativity at this current moment, or just kind of in general?
Yeah. So one person one person was like, yes, please talk about this. And I replied, I was like, why? Like, why is this such a big deal? And they said, well, because there's just been a lot of pessimism in the hobby lately. So. Yeah,
I mean, that might be just like a product of the prices going down and people lashing out and stuff. I mean, I'm always just kind of in the middle. Like, I just always think that there should be both sides. I think there should be negativity and positivity, and so it just, maybe there's more of it right now because of certain accounts are louder. That's the other thing is, like, in general, I feel like most people overall are positive about the hobby, we just like the negative content sometimes gets more watched, and there's like studies about how negativity is like has a higher click rate in a lot of content on YouTube, and that's why some of that stuff is sort of like breeded and festered across the social media landscape, and it's definitely a big problem. So I would just say that if you see a lot of it, just maybe like block those people, mute their stories. I do a lot of muting, to be honest. Like I mute people whose content just kind of doesn't interest me anymore, or they keep kind of talking about the same negative thing over and over, and I'll just move on and try to. That's the great thing about Instagram, is that you can follow who you want, and if you don't like their account, you just don't follow them.
Yeah, it's about right. Yeah, I don't have a ton more to add to that. When you're on social media, hobby social media is very small. If you want to make it a more positive place, you can actually make a meaningful contribution yourself. We all can.
Yeah.
One of the easiest ways to contribute positivity to this hobby is by selflessly encouraging and or advocating for other collectors who are doing things that you like and that you think want to be propped up. And let me put a asterisk on that. That doesn't mean going around cheerleading stuff that other people are doing that just happens to line up exactly with what you want to be promoting or cheerleading yourself, because that's just a covert way of doing your own, self-flagellation. So let's avoid that. But if you see somebody else in the hobby doing something constructive that you want to highlight, go out of your way to highlight it, send them a DM, compliment them on it, repost it to your story, and don't do it out of a purpose of how can this somehow indirectly help my cards, but do it instead because I want to make this hobby a more positive place and do something nice or friendly for somebody. That's like a really easy way that anybody can chip in and increase the positivity. Okay, the flip side of this, though, is that we need a little bit of negativity. We need a little bit of pessimism. We need a balance to the point of view, to all points of view. And, negativity isn't so bad because we all have a contrarian streak. And I can say whenever I see somebody firing off a lot of negative or pessimistic takes, it helps me develop positive takes just because I want to disagree with them. And I want to take it the other direction. So we need to react to negative things and to positive things. And I don't think we're in a bad place. I think there's a decent balance of positivity and negativity right now, at least on my feed.
Yeah, that's a much better answer than mine. I think I saw a question about like, how do you guys curate your Instagram feed? Can you pull that one up? That feels kind of like a nice follow-up to this. So it's just like, I'm seeing a lot of negativity. You pose the proposition of, hey, maybe you should start posting your own content. And so the next question is like, what's a good way to start with that?
Yep, that came from South Park Cards too. He says, what are some tips to best curate your Instagram page?
Yeah, I had some thoughts on that. And that's the reason I asked you to ask that question, because my answer to that is the same as what I was going to say next, which is like to focus on like high quality things and keep your feed focused on things that you're really passionate about and you enjoy, and keep it focused and keep it high quality. I think maybe one of the tips you'll hear on the internet is like, oh, just start posting, post whatever, post stuff that stinks and it's great. And I'd be a little bit more slow paced and thoughtful than that. You don't need to just like post everything you see. So maybe make it to where if someone scrolled through your feed, it could be enjoyable for them and they could get, something positive for their day, and have it curated and high quality.
Yeah, I agree. I actually hate the way that my page is curated. Let me see if I can pull it up right now. So maybe I can give you some like don'ts. All right, hang on here. All right, so here's what my page looks like.
But a lot of yours is like the posts that you make to kind of, to prepare for the Friday night show and then post the results of it.
Yeah, it is, but that's okay. But like, okay, so I post some lives, which is cool. Lives are fun to go back and look at. I post, these little promotional posts to collect questions for Friday night shows. I do this sometimes too. This is super easy to do. Like if you've got a video that maybe you made or that somebody else made that you're a part of that you really like, you can just use the screen record feature on your iPhone.
All iPhones have it. You do not need to download an app. You just swipe down from the top right corner and push the red circle and just record your screen, make little content out of it, and you can post it to your page. And then like some of the other stuff I like to do too is like, okay, well here I am shilling for my company. Let's see, what else do I have here?
I like when you do these ones with the red font, like you like
What these
highlight
ones? This one?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yes. So like this was just posting my PC. Obviously those are low hanging fruit. I like to do analytical posts too.
Talking about.
Yeah, and this has nothing to do with my collection at all. This is just like, wow, this is really interesting. Matthew Stafford's cards have appreciated this year more than Tom Brady's, and here's the data that shows it. Like, you know, I just wish it was presented better. I do not have graphic skills at all. It just kind of gets thrown up there. So that would be a way that I would improve the curation of my page, just make it look prettier so that when you just kind of like scroll down it looks better. But like a variety of content is kind of good. But why would you even take advice from me? I have 8,500 followers. Like I'm the slowest growing account in the hobby for several years running. So, but those are, if the question was asked, that's some of the stuff I like.
Yeah, but the engagement level you have is really high. Those what do you call it? Like multi-photo posts where you have to scroll right. I feel like when I did one of those, I've only done like one or two. That's when I had the most comments because you probably get like a lot more engagement on that kind of stuff.
Yep.
So it's less about like the follower count. And that's good advice as well. Like don't focus as much on the follower count and focus more on like what type of engagement you're getting and what type of like, you know, one-to-one feedback you're getting on each of your posts. If you've got 1,000 followers and you're getting like 100 comments, your content is extremely, extremely, you know, sticky and enjoyable for people. So I would focus more on the ratio, I would say.
Yep. There you go. What do you think about people who have like one page for content and the other page for posting their PC?
That's interesting. Yeah, I kind of like it. I'm just too lazy to switch between, so I would never do that. But I get it. That's cool.
Yeah, me too. I'm just trying to figure out a way. Yeah.
That's why I named my when I first made my account name, you know, Cardboard Chronicles. I wanted it to be so generic. It's like, yeah, it's like cards and just stories about cards. So I can kind of get away with posting whatever I want as long as it's cards.
Yeah. Oh, that's another one I'd say too. Keep your card page primarily about your cards. If you go into your personal life a little bit, you know, great. I don't think anybody gets turned off by too much of that. But like, if your card page transforms into like your hobby of photographing salamanders, like I'm out. I'm done. You know, like that might sound far-fetched, but like these things happen and it's annoying.
What about JPEGs of salamanders' faces melting?
Yeah, just trying to not go that route, but yeah, that probably too a little bit. But you know, people's interests change and stuff. I don't know. It's weird. All right. My other page said, when Fanatics takes over, would you rather see gold parallels be numbered to 99 going forward or continue with numbering them to 10?
Most people are not gonna like my answer on this, but I have, just let me get through it.
Don't say, are you gonna say 99?
I'm gonna say 99, and here's why. Just listen to what I'm saying. Listen to what I'm saying. With the caveat that you remove a bunch of the other inserts and parallels and like, you know, emergent gold and like all, like if you add up all the golds, it's actually 99 anyways, or it's 100. So if it's just like one gold and then there's not like a black gold and there's not a, you know, gold wave and a gold whatever the hell, and it's just gold and they sort of add up to that 99, it gives people a chase still to get the gold, because 99 is still not easy to get. Even, you know, if it's a highly popular player, it's still not easy to get. But it also gives you something that isn't necessarily impossible to get all of them. It's kind of, to me, it's like a nice equilibrium between too rare and not, you know, not rare enough where it's too easy. So with the caveat that we reduce it, if it's like the gold is 99 and we still have everything else, of course, like please just keep the 10, keep that, you know, rare in itself.
Yeah, like basketball. Card Collector 93 says gold, X-Fractor, black refractor, and refractor. Simple. And if you do it that way, then, you know, which is basically a throwback to like the mid and early 2000s Topps Chrome runs, then you limit the number of total parallels out there, which is a really interesting approach. I'm gonna advocate for the 10, and I think oh my god, and I think enough 10s. 10 is a large enough number that you still see them for sale. So like that, it actually brings this to mind. This showed up on eBay yesterday. I have my finely tuned Prism Gold search that allowed me to see this as soon as it hit, and it was listed for 10 grand OBO. This is the 2020 Steph Curry Prism Gold in a BGS 9. And you can see here, sorry, Chris, the seller turned down your offer and this listing is closed because somebody hit bin on that card. But like, as somebody who is like actively following Prism Gold and 90s PMGs, like I'm like always trying to find and look at all the cards of those that come through on eBay. Plenty of Prism Golds hit the market, even at numbered out of 10.
Yeah, but those cards are a few years old. Try to find a green PMG of your favorite player and like watch the pain. So like as those gold prisms get older, it will become much more difficult.
Yes, it will. Yes, no, that's very true. Very, very true. All right, so
That's good. We got an argument for both.
yeah, two different sides of it. Okay. Somebody actually replied. A buddy of mine replied to that when I reposted that question of the story, and he goes, "Gold's out of 99. That sounds like we're giving out participation trophies here." So,
Ouch, man. Jeez. But you know what? Ever since you went on this little one-on-one thing, you've been a little bit too big. You're getting big-headed about it. Like, oh, if it's not a 1-on-1 or out of 10, like, what the fuck? Who even cares? It's basically like buying toilet paper or freaking milk.
oh yeah.
Come on, guys. 99. Let's see. What are RPA's number 2? Isn't it 99? It's still like a pretty desirable number.
If the golds are at 99, I'm gonna start using them as toilet paper. Basically,
So that's
is what I'm saying.
23.
23, number to 23. 23 would be it's an uneven number. It's
Oh,
an
50.
uneven number.
50 Topps Chrome was at its peak when they were 50.
Yeah, too many for me.
Oh
But
my God.
I just need 10. I really need one if we really like Josh Luber's thought experiment, where like, what if every single card was just one?
Isn't that just what NFTs are?
Yeah, I guess it is. Yeah, don't disrespect me with the 99, exactly. Oh, we're getting some votes for 50 in here. Put in your votes real quick before I get to the next question. Sometimes I'm actually interested in what the chat has to say. Holy Catfish says, I got 99 problems and a gold ain't one. Ken says 7,000 one of ones. Yeah.
Zola Card says the argument of like rare but not impossible. I feel like that's what keeps the hobby engaged at large, and maybe I'm wrong and people just want really tough chases everywhere, but having something that's like where you can have enough people own the card and still like get excited about it and kind of get everyone excited together, I feel like there's a little bit of something to that. But
yeah. Look, the chat is a smattering of different answers. We've got some for 50, some for 99, some for 10. Oh, a vote for 25. A vote for 25. All right, so I don't know. The public is divided on this one. All right, moving on here. K Dizzle Card says, Josh has mentioned a few times that he has brokered sports card deals before. I'm wondering what that entails and what the process is like.
Oh, I kind of just do that for fun. I really enjoy like connecting people to cards they're after, and I usually like just sort of internalize what people collect, and I meet a lot of people and I kind of know what they're after, and I listen to what other people like and what they're looking for, and then when I see a story or I know a friend or somebody selling something like that, I'll usually like try to play the game and connect it in my head and send it. Like I usually like share stories that I see that you might be interested in, even if I'm not 100% sure you want it. I'll do it just in case if it's something that might interest you. It's just fun. I don't really expect much from it. I'm not like, I don't have like a fee or anything. And if someone wants to send me a little bit of cash for helping facilitate the deal, I'm obviously happy to do that. But I just kind of don't expect anything. I just like it. Maybe like getting more into the meat of it. Like if the two people don't know each other, don't trust each other, I'm also willing for them to like ship the card to me, and then I'll have the other person pay and then ship it. I will usually ask for some money on that front because I am like doing something, taking some risk on. Not much else really.
Good. All right, there you go, K Dizzle. Cards and Candy 911 says, do you think a company will arise next year that will strictly facilitate trades? The whole purpose of the company will be middlemaning trades. Do you think that will happen in the near future?
I think it's more of like the StockX model than trades, where you're like middlemaning the authentication of the deal happening, and that the card is what they say it is, kind of thing. And maybe that's what the question's asking, but maybe. I would think it'd be a little bit more focused around like the StockX model than like very specifically just trades.
Yeah, and it is worth noting that auction houses, Golden, for example, certainly brokers private deals for their clients all the time, and there are active representatives or concierges. I don't know what the word is. There are people in that company who have robust networks who place cards and collections and facilitate deals. So like that type of stuff already is happening behind the scenes to some extent, and with some level of expertise. But there is nobody out there who's just like the business model. The purpose of the business is literally just, I'm going to be the middleman for trades. And there might be a market for that. There might be a market for specializing in that. You never know. Would you use that service if that service existed? Like, I don't even know how it would work. Like, would it be like just like a series of like wanted ads and kind of just, or would you have to like set up the trade, and then once you've already got the terms of the trade figured out, then you go to this company and then they're like, okay, we'll be the person in the middle?
No, I mean, I do it now because it's fun, but also because I can control the flow of it, and I can control how often. If it was a business, I feel like I would lose interest in that quickly, because it just become too, I don't know, too much demand. I don't really like handling product if I can avoid it, and if it doesn't interest me, especially if I'm like forced to do it, that doesn't sound that interesting to me at scale.
Yeah. Okay, WTF Frankie podcast had a very interesting question that's pretty applicable to us and some other people in this chat. And so if this question applies to you as well, you know, let's hear what you think about it. He says, I work at a hobby company. He put the name of the hobby company, but I redacted it, and it is not a company that you or I is affiliated with in any way. But he said, I work at a hobby company, and I do imaging and research there. I've been there for a little bit over 3 months. I was recently at a hobby shop and found myself disinterested with the cards in the case. And, oh, Josh, you know what? I need to take a break for a second here, bud. Hold it down the fort for me for 2 seconds, and I'll be right back.
Sweet. I'm going to just stare at the screen and wait, because I don't know how to run the show. No, I don't even know what that question was. You guys in the chat have any questions? Help me out here. Send me some questions. I'm in the dark. Chris has everything.
Sorry, buddy. Christina ordered extra pillows to the hotel room, and I didn't know why the hell somebody was knocking at our door. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
I was like, is it gone for 5 minutes and I got to like come up with content, or is this like 2 minutes where I just sit here?
Okay, let's finish this question. So how do you, as somebody who works in the hobby, stay engaged and preserve the joy that the hobby brings you? Okay, so this guy works at a company. He was at a card shop. Now he's been working there for 3 months. He was at the card shop. He was bored by what he saw in the display case, which obviously was like an unusual feeling. And now he's like, now I work in the hobby. How do I stay engaged and preserve the joy that the hobby brings me? It feels like I'm more just interested in working in the hobby rather than enjoying it as a pastime.
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say, I don't know, this hasn't really come up. Like, I've just always loved cards regardless. I guess it's different if you're at a card shop or you're looking at like the same stuff over and over. I guess maybe just like try to find something new, something different. Because usually when you see something that you see a lot of and you kind of get bored of that, that's usually when it's time for a change, right? Like, I know I was talking about when I see like the same cards in cases, I sort of just like gloss over and I'm looking for rare stuff. So maybe try to find a new niche in the hobby that's a little bit more rare and a little bit harder to find, and something that you wouldn't come across at your job, and just change it up. But I'd be a little concerned that if you're already bored of something, potentially you might be looking to switch careers or switch jobs or something. That could be a little concerning.
Yep, it's a great point. This was something I was concerned about, of professionalizing the hobby for yourself, for me, for Christina, because I professionalized in previous passions. I used to make music as a hobby, and then I turned into a profession for 7 years. And it can certainly threaten taking away some of the innocence, some of the passion, some of the natural organic joy that you have for a hobby when you professionalize in it. And so, that's always a risk. That really is a risk. And it can happen. There's just, and so then you have to make a decision. Do you enjoy the hobby more as a professional, even if it means that you don't enjoy it so much as a pastime anymore? Like, you don't find yourself getting the same thrill out of going to a hobby shop and looking at the display case, because now you look at cards all day long. You literally are just imaging and researching cards all day, so you're not so interested in in looking at cards in your downtime, in your free time. Do you want it that way, or do you want to go back to having the hobby be your pastime and being something that you enjoy a lot, right? And so if that's the case, then yeah, maybe you find a new job. But if the former is the case, then maybe you find a new hobby. But it might be a little bit unrealistic for everybody to think they're going to continue to love it as a hobby and love it as a job. So it's a reality of any time. Just one little parenthetical thing that I remarked on has captivated the chat. And my big point is just completely blown past them, and they're just interested in the one footnote. But anyway, that's what I would say about that. It's not a perfect situation.
When you're looking for a spouse or a mate in life, I usually like to equate it to, or my thought process is usually like someone that people are like, you fall in love immediately and some of these cliche things, but the reality is usually someone that you want to find someone that you like being around for really long periods of time, and you don't like get annoyed at them very quickly, and you like being around them. And same with your hobby, right? You got to find something that you enjoy being around all the time, and you got to find that thing. And maybe it's not cards, and that's okay. Like, if you do it during the day and then you lose the steam for it, maybe that's just not the perfect thing for you, which is fine.
Definitely. All right. Accident 64 says, are we as hobbyists destroying our hobby by accepting that manufactured patches on a set like National Treasure sell for record highs? Where is the value of a manufactured patch? I just don't get it.
Yeah, that's a good question. You and I generally don't get as upset about the manufactured patches as others, because, we're more interested in the card and the design, and we may not even enjoy patch stuff as much. But I get why, people who collect that stuff are very frustrated with the manufactured stuff. I would be too, and I am. And that's what I've always said is, like, if you don't like something and you want it out of the hobby, stop buying it. Otherwise, they're just going to keep doing it. And that's true. Like, if we keep buying that stuff and we keep allowing the prices of it to go up and the demand keeps going up, they're just going to keep doing it, and they're going to do it more. Maybe this will be a really hot, pressing item for fanatics and it'll go away. But I don't know, man. If people keep buying it, it's going to keep happening.
Yeah, I'm glad that you kind of touched on the fact that, like, there are people who actually really care about the authenticity of memorabilia pieces and how they are worked into the hobby, and they want to put pressure on manufacturers to go out and do the legwork and get authentic pieces and not take shortcuts. The tradition has always been that these are authentic memorabilia pieces, not that they're replicas. So, and the whole point of the card kind of is defeated if it's not an authentic memorabilia piece, because if it's not, then, like, why the hell is the piece in there in the first place? So I get the issue. I get the point, but here's the other side. If you were to take that patch out, even an authentic game-worn patch from a 2003 Exquisite LeBron, and you were to throw that little 1-inch by 1-inch patch onto eBay, it's not going to bring 1/100,000th of the value that it brings when it's attached to this piece of cardboard. But by comparison, if you look at other pieces of cardboard that have no memorabilia from LeBron's rookie season that are equally short printed and rare from equally prestigious sets, they bring enormous 6-7 figure amounts of money. The value is in the card. It's not in the memorabilia piece. And that's why these cards will continue to sell for so much, even without having authentic memorabilia in them, because the value comes from the card, not from the memorabilia piece. And by the same token, if you want value from a memorabilia piece, go get the game used shoes or the game used jersey or something like that. Those are places to go get it. So that's the perspective on it. I'm not saying it's the right one or it's the best one, but the fact that the value comes from the hobby and the history of trading card collecting and not from the memorabilia piece is why this is able to happen. But I get it. Let's put the pressure on the manufacturers to keep the memorabilia authentic. I don't know. It's a different.
If you had to choose, you would definitely prefer it to be game worn, right? Like that's obvious. But your point of the card being the driver, and I think just the look of the card plus having the jersey sort of like incorporated into the design, and then the autograph really bringing it all together. It's a very like aesthetically pleasing, and it's a nice packaged thing where you can like own it, and it's a very small piece of memorabilia together with the card. It's a very like enjoyable thing. And to your point, like if you separated them, it's just like, this is weird, nobody cares, and people barely even care about, I mean, I know game used jerseys are like a big thing, but they care less about it than they do the cards. It's an interesting thought.
Yep. Okay, Flippin' Hoops says, when you built your collection, did you target expensive and sought-after rookies first? Or did you first go after second, third, fourth year, gold refractor type of stuff that was more affordable?
It depends on the player. Like for the football stuff, I pretty much only went after the high-end rookie stuff just because of where the price points are at. And, there wasn't much excitement for me to try to find, fifth-year gold refractors of the receivers as much as it was for other guys. But like if it's LeBron or if it's Jordan or it's Kevin Durant or Steph Curry, you may not have a choice, and you might have to go straight for the off-year stuff, which is totally cool. I think it just depends on kind of your budget, how much money you have to spend on something. But in general, if money isn't the object, in general, I would say yes, go for like the rookie stuff first, because it's usually harder to come across. But usually the stuff that you and I buy, like we don't really have a choice in the order in which they're purchased. They just sort of like, we just sort of find it over time, and it happens when it happens kind of deal. But in general, if you do have a choice, yeah, I would definitely go for the rookie stuff first.
Right on. Yeah, no, so I bought my first Jokic card that I ever went out of my way to buy, basically, and it was a fourth year Prism Gold. So that answers the question, I think. There were some funny comments that came in relating to the previous topic. Cardboard Picker said, I only collect photo shoot worn memorabilia cards. So there's a little spin on that one. It's a real niche there that he's cornered.
I have to get the 03 LeBron Exquisite 99. That's going to be tough. That's a photo shoot.
Someone said Zion dinner worn patch.
Isn't the player worn jokes where they'll show the picture of the guy wearing like 20 jerseys, 4XL type stuff?
Oh yeah, it's got absurd, and they wear jerseys. Oftentimes don't even know what the player's jersey number is, so or even if they do, they wear jerseys that have the number 88 because it gives the most patch material, and it's just
the thing that bothers me the most is when it's like it's not even the right like jersey, it doesn't even match to the card. Like at least try to do that. Like if you're gonna go buy a jersey at Champ Sports or Finish Line or whatever, at least like match the freaking card. It's like it's like a completely, it can't even be possible. I've seen cards where like it's not even possible for it to be a match because it's like a different player or it's a different team they never played for or something.
Oh yeah, that's a rabbit hole in the hobby. All right, JJJ Gambino. Oh, this is a big question that I think about sometimes. Can
physically?
No, not physically. Philosophically, it covers. It's its implications are enormous.
Here comes the Zion question.
Zion question coming here. All right. Can complete and total satisfaction or closure ever be achieved by a sports card collector? Or will there always be a new piece to chase, another collection to compete with, or some other endless cycle that keeps us infinitely involved?
Yeah, this is a kind of an easier one than I thought, given how you led with it. It will never end. You'll never be satisfied no matter what. I thought, like, there's been so many times when I was like, man, I'll just get my top 10 LeBrons, my top 10 pennies, and I'll just sort of ride off into the sunset.
I remember.
But it's like I'm only 33. Am I really gonna, like, you know, is my collecting career gonna die at 34? And I just sort of like sit around and stare at them in my office every day? Like, no, that doesn't make any sense. I think there's always going to be some chase. Your brain gets bored of the same thing over and over, and you just kind of like seek that chase, whether you like it or not, or whether you feel like you have the best collection ever and you can't go any further. I would use Nat as a good example of this. The guy has like so many one-on-ones. He's got kind of all the main products. I think he has like every LeBron rookie and every Jordan ever, and the guy's just like always looking for that next thing. He's trying to find a new set. I think he's collecting the gold prisms now, probably from every year, and it's like, it never ends, dude.
Never ends. If Nat doesn't have closure and doesn't feel satisfied yet, then none of us have an excuse to feel that either. Cards have like a velocity to them, and it's different. For some of us, it's very slow. For some of us, it's fast. Some cards are fast. Some cards are slow. But cards need an energy. They need to be either, adding some value to our collection, or else they're on their way out, and we're making way for new stuff to come into our collections and enhance our collections further. So, it's never over. Not even a collection. Even if you just said, I'm not even going to buy any more cards, that your collection still isn't static, because the market is changing and people's preferences are changing, and like what in your taste will change. And the 10 cards that comprise your collection right now might not mean as much to you. These are all things you can't control. You can never just freeze time. You can't just say, all right, done, frozen, everything is complete, it's over. And it's a big question, because it actually speaks to the way that life is, not just cards in a certain sense. You will never just reach this moment of pure bliss and just freeze in it and then just ride off into the sunset in it. That's not the way that things work. So, but I understand the impulse to want to have that. It's like having a goal, You're striving towards this goal. But ask Tom Brady. Once he got 7 Super Bowls, was he suddenly disinterested in getting the 8th? No. But I'm sure his goal right now is I'd like to get 8 Super Bowls. Once he gets 8, he will be interested in getting 9. So assuming he gets 8, obviously. Okay.
Yep. I was while you were talking, I was thinking about, I was looking over, this is this little pile of stuff I want to sell, and I only want to sell it because I feel like I have too much stuff, and that's kind of one of the ways that I keep going, is that I'll sell some stuff, consolidate down, and continue on the journey. That's another strategy that I'll do to kind of keep things interesting, is just selling stuff. I know that's not necessarily your strategy, but it is one strategy.
Oh yeah. And selling too, like selling is one of the most fun parts of this hobby. Is you put your card on eBay or you put a for sale post, and then you're suddenly getting notifications, this offer's coming in, this offer's coming in. It's validating, it's fun, it's an energy. It really infuses a whole different energy. If you're not actively like taking offers on your cards every once in a while, or a card every once in a while, you can almost get out of touch with the other side of this market. And you can forget how much energy and excitement there is for even the cards that you own. It can be nice to be put back in touch with that. All right. Next question. In Cardboard Veritas says, I've been seeing more and more collectors under the age of 25 collecting vintage. With the modern market remaining soft and vintage trickling up, does this reflect that younger people have been moving out of modern and into vintage? Or do you view modern and vintage as largely independent markets?
I think they're pretty independent, man. I don't know like a lot of people that collect both. Like most people we encounter collect kind of one or the other, and that's generally based on what they grew up collecting or what sort of their not necessarily their age, but like their era they prefer or whatever, like what sort of style of cards. Um, but that's kind of cool to hear. I haven't really noticed anything like that, but I've always thought vintage was interesting. Like it's not quite interesting enough for me to actually dive into it, just because I feel like there's not as much to explore, and you kind of feel like once I check the box of like the 3 or 4 cards that do interest me in vintage, I would kind of be done with it. So that's always been the blocker for me. But I do like appreciate the history of it, and I've always liked vintage. So to hear some younger people getting into it, that's pretty awesome. But there's another question coming up about like sort of scarcity and rarity, and vintage always comes to my mind because there's actually not much of it if you think about it. Like Luka and LeBron have like thousands upon thousands of different unique rookies, and like Julius Erving has one, like Will Chamberlain has one, and I've always found that kind of interesting.
Well, let's proceed to that question. Mad City Collector says, what are your feelings about true scarcity, meaning total population, versus artificial scarcity, meaning a variation, a short print variation, or something that is scarce in a high grade?
Yeah, I just think of vintage versus modern when I hear this question, because like true scarcity is like basically 61 will. Like there's more of them than there are Luka RPAs, but if you add up all of Wilt Chamberlain's rookies and you add up all of Luka's, it's really not close. It's like the manufactured scarcity of the modern stuff, versus the overall scarcity of the older stuff has always fascinated me, that people always kind of choose the manufactured rarity, and maybe that's okay. Maybe like, manufactured rarity doesn't have to be a negative thing. It can be a positive, because all these cards are manufactured. The printers, the printing companies, the people who create the cards, they choose how many of each style there are, and if they put a little bit extra juice into the RPA 99 and it has more significance, there's more popularity to it. Just because it's manufactured to be 99 doesn't mean it's a bad thing, and I think it's really cool. And the grading scarcity, I hear people say that a lot, but like I credit grading as like the #1 reason that the collectible market has been as adopted as it has been, because it gives confidence to people, and it does create this extra level of like chase and collectability and scarcity and things like that, which is what the question is referencing. So I think all of it's positive. Just kind of depends on how you look at it.
Yeah, I definitely want to give the proper respect to true scarcity, and obviously like just phrasing it as like true versus artificial is showing the bias of the question asker and the community. Yep. One is true, one is man-made, human-made, but I prefer artificial scarcity for a very probably historically dependent reason, which is that I came of age collecting in the 90s as a kid, and serial numbering was the only and a very important safeguard that protected us from the mass overproduction that characterized the late 80s and the early 90s. So to me, artificial scarcity is a very important security component that protects the collectability of an item, and it protects, the printing press from getting turned back on like it arguably may have happened in the late 80s and the early 90s. So to me, like, artificial scarcity serves a very important purpose. It has revolutionized collectibles, and it's a safeguard. So against overproduction. So I've always embraced artificial scarcity. True scarcity is neat, but true scarcity is like this, you almost start like going slightly in the direction of like collecting historical artifacts, important political documents or
research
papers, relics from battles. You're starting to go in that direction when you go away from like a very intentionally designed set that only has 10 copies that was made for consumption, and you're going into this more like wild west of just kind of like, this is how many just happen to be out there, and this is, and that doesn't appeal to me as much, because I actually like the artifice of scarcity. I like that there's this world that was constructed to be this way, and that it is this way.
Yeah, I mean, if you really want to break it down, like all of cards are manufactured scarcity because it's all, like I said earlier, it's like it's all manufactured, it's printed, it was designed for the consumption of it in the current means that we do, which is collecting. And so it's kind of like one of the rare things where in life where something is just like designed to be made as a collectible and it's like done really, really well. Usually those are like fads that kind of die out and people like lose interest in it because this seems to have the perfect mix of like designed to be collectible, but it also has some like historical significance. It's got a connection to our sports that we love. It's got a kind of got this nice blend to all of it. That's why I kind of at the end was just like, yeah, I kind of get all of it. It's all kind of intertwined and fun.
Yeah, I get. Yeah, I know what you mean. There's something to be said for all the points of view on that one. All right, South Park Cards 2 says, do you think the lack of creativity in today's inserts reflects culture, architecture, and modern art? The 90s inserts were highly creative, lots of color, recurring themes like outer space, whereas today's architecture, for example, is very minimalist with bland colors, which we might say parallels inserts today are bland and boring. So is there anything that we can say about motifs that recur in different creative outlets? Like the current moment that we're in is a moment characterized by blandness or boringness, whereas the 90s was characterized by vibrance and colorfulness. And that sort of explains why things in the card industry look the way they look.
Yeah, I think if you just, you ask somebody about 90s versus today, they would say 90s is very like loud and, a bit over designed and kind of, think edgy and taking things to the max. And today is a little more bland. But it's really hard to characterize the whole world as being bland today. There's a little bit of everything, and having the internet, you can really find anything and everything. So I wouldn't say like in general things are more bland today. I think they're more optimized and more simple for consumers, and just like we know what people want, so we just sort of have, like I said, optimized for that. So like it may appear more simple, but I don't know if that's quite the reason. I'm not sure why. Yeah, I do agree that like the inserts and parallels today like are a bit more bland compared to 90s. And maybe that's just like my own bias of like the style that I prefer from 90s, and maybe people today like the current ones. I don't get that excited about, downtown and like color blasts as much as maybe some other people do. And that's like, again, probably just my bias towards like the style of the 90s designs. I don't know. It's kind of just all opinion based at this point. We're all just sort of splitting hairs.
Yeah. Couple things. Maybe like, well, first of all, like when I first looked at Prism, coming back to the hobby, it reminded me of text message screens because of all the bubbles. Like used to like bubbling and stuff. It reminded me of an iPhone message screen. And so I think it's undeniable that the artwork that people make is going to be reflective of the things that subconsciously influence them and that they look at in their daily lives. I think like, okay, small tangent. Remember when dubstep music was huge? Dubstep music sounds like industrial machines making noises and planes flying overhead. Or my washing machine used to make this like random noise sometimes that sounded just like a synthetic noise that you would hear in electronic music. I just think like the noises of machinery influence the sounds that people made music around. The things that we look at in our practical daily lives influence our art. I think that's a logical connection to make. But here's a second thought. Maybe inserts as an art form just belong in the 90s. They were new. The insert was just developed. It was revolutionary. It was exciting. It was cutting edge. It had a purpose. And so there was just a lot more ingenuity being poured into it. And now inserts are being resuscitated and being trotted out because it's a proven and successful formula. It's been corporatized. It's been streamlined. It's been economized, right? So maybe just the inspiration just really isn't there anymore. And maybe you could levy that same critique against RPAs, which had so much energy and excitement in the early 2000s and the late 90s. And now it's just like kind of the same thing over and over again. They perfected it. They know how to do it. And now it's just the same thing.
Yeah, the optimization stage of we know what consumers want, so just keep doing it until they stop buying it.
Yeah, exactly. That's the way to sum it up right there. All right, Corner Taken Quickly wants to know, what percentage of the "my kid placed this bid, please cancel it" excuse is actually legitimate?
That their excuse is legitimate, super low, man.
You
I'm
don't
gonna
think
take
there's a
the
bunch of
pessimist.
kids out there just bidding up for their parents?
No, it's probably like less than 2%. You know, I'm taking the pessimistic approach that people are just like bad. They're just like taking the negative route here, and most people are just trying to get away from. I mean, it's always just that, like, you know, you overpaid, or you made a mistake and you just want your money back and you want to undo it, and like what can I say to get the seller to feel less bad, and it's almost worse. I almost just be like, you know what, I'm trying to get stuff cheap, and I misread the market. Can I just have my money back? I'd almost prefer that, but I'm not sure. It's just probably like less than 2%. It's not good.
Less than 2%. Probably gonna have to agree with that as well. I mean, what are the odds of your kid going on your watch list, knowing exactly which item to bid on, bidding an amount that wins? It's just not very likely.
My kid's not going anywhere near my eBay bidding. He's on YouTube, or he's like looking at something else, and I don't let my kid have my phone anyways. Like what kid is just like having access to a phone for that amount of time? Lock your screens, people. Lock your screen. Lock your phones.
Kid-proof your screens.
Well, I don't think we have a problem of kids getting a hold of their. That's the point. Like, this isn't actually happening. Nobody's kids are taking over their phones and bidding on eBay for them. This isn't real.
Zola says my 2-year-old knows I collect Lonnie Walker. Yeah, that's got to be careful, or else you're going to be winning some Lonnie Walker silver prisms that have been shilled. So watch out for that. Okay, Cage asked a good question. Did you see this today on a card porn post? Nat Turner commented, and in his comment he said that he wants to buy Lamim James. And so Cage's question is, how much should Nat Turner pay for the rights to Lamim James? After that comment showed up, I said, I was talking to Lamim, and he said probably 99% of his memes would not be able to be posted to PSA's page, for example. So that's definitely a thing here. I'm pulling up the Nat Turner comments so we can, so here's what Nat said. Nat said, he's confirming, when he says that's true, he's confirming he has no association with card porn. And then he says, no affiliation with PSA. He goes, although I would like to acquire Lamim James. And it has 321 likes.
I feel like I've had some conversation with Nat, maybe like around this, of like, hey, we should, PSA and collectors should look at acquiring a really interesting content creator. But I will say, you can't buy people, Chris. I don't know why that's becoming a thing. Like, you can't just buy Christian. He's a person. You can't just buy people. As much as some people may want to do that, you can't buy people.
Oh, so yep, that's right. There is no price that you can put on a man's life. So he is not for sale. So, all right, I don't know. What
do you think? Should collectors try to acquire more content like that?
100%. I think Lamim should be part of the collectors family ASAP.
I just want him as a coworker.
What's that?
I said I just want him as a coworker. That's just like my own selfish.
Yes, exactly. Please. Can you imagine the
all fired because he's gonna start emailing things to our collectors' emails and get us all in trouble.
I was gonna say, could you imagine the email chains that he's a part of and the behind the scenes memes? I think that would be worth it alone. So
I also, though, actually, I'm gonna take a little bit different approach. I don't know that I want Lamim to have some sort of restraint on what he does necessarily. It was different for us because our data is going to continue to be, high integrity and kind of the same no matter what. Whereas Lamim, under some umbrella, he might feel restricted, and that's kind of what makes his content so good. Is there are no restrictions.
So, like, for example, like. I just don't think that that's content that's appropriate for all ages. So, but we love that content. Like I need that content in the hobby. That's the main reason why I would love for collectors or somebody to acquire Lamame, just to ensure that he has the resources to continue
The
making
funding.
memes, make more memes. He should be 20 memes a day, perhaps.
We should just sit him in front of a computer, and say, make more memes. More. Just make them. We'll pay you to make memes all day long. Make more.
All right. Flippity flip cards is a very simple question. 1998 PMG or 1999 PMG? Which one do you prefer? And I'll be honest, I'm not even familiar with 99 PMGs. I've never owned one, never collected one, never sought them out. So I have to tap out of this question.
What is a 99 PMG? Am I insane? What are we thinking of?
I don't know. I'm not familiar with 1999 PMGs. I know the 1997 very well, the championship in basketball anyway, the championship versus the red and the green. I know the 1998, which is sometimes called the gold PMG, number to 50. But I don't know anything about 99 PMGs. Don't even know if they exist. I just have
let's pivot the question and assume that this person meant 97, 98, and 98, 99.
Okay.
Like the latter years. The answer's got to be 97, 98. You got the red, the green, and the PMG championship, which is my personal favorite. But I will say I do love the 98, 99 golds. I like them a lot. Maybe is football is 99 PMG? Man. He's probably talking about football. Can you just Google it? 1999 PMG, or give me some visuals here, which is the same as 98. Let's just go back to the assuming, because I feel like I should know, or I would have known by now, like what the 99 PMG. I do like the gold though. You like the gold Jordan one, right? You don't own it, but that's one that you would like to acquire?
Yeah, that's an amazing card.
That one versus PMG championship, which one do you like better?
I think it is the same question, basically, Josh, as well. Because this is what the 99 football PMGs look like, which is what the 98 basketball PMGs look like.
Yeah, those three cards, the green PM and the red, I guess. The green, the PMG championship, and that gold PMG are just three of the best cards. It would be really hard for me to just pick one. Just the fact that two of them are in 1 year kind of gives the nod to 97, 98.
Yep. Okay, so this is numbered to 50. Barry Sanders, PSA 4, very recently graded, 99 PMG. Dude, it's $4,000.
What?
Yes, $4,000 for
Bro.
the GOAT running back.
Hold on, I have to go to the bathroom.
I was like, should I buy this on air? Should I just buy this right now?
I know that a lot of people are still hung up on the fact that you got your PSA 4s and 5s and stuff from that older stuff. I'm telling you guys, that shit does not matter on that stuff. It just doesn't. As long as it's authentic, and to me, slabbed in a PSA slab, and so that way it's authentic and it's not trimmed and it's not mangled. It has some sort of grade attached to it. To me, it's awesome.
Yeah, dude, and dude, this card looks sharp, man. I'm zooming in on the corners and stuff. I'm trying to.
We got an indent or something. A 4 usually has some sort of crease or indent.
Yeah, must be some sort of crease or something. But
dude, the last card that I bought is a PSA 4, and I'll show it next week when I have it.
Yeah, there you go. That card just presents very well, and that's the nice thing about the PSA flip, the uniform.
Dude, that card's gonna be done. Put a watch on it so that tomorrow you see that it's in your sold listings. That card is gonna sell tonight.
Dude, how is this $4,000?
Just put a watch on it.
Yeah, I'm doing it.
Because it's football and it's a running back, whatever they get. That's just the way it is. People are weird.
He's the Ken Griffey Jr. of football from the 90s. How is that?
If I collected Barry and is that who's that one right there? Oh, sorry. I thought that might have been Randy Moss or something. Yeah, I don't know. I'm with you, man. Freaking Barry, freaking Sanders, PMG Gold. And I'm telling you guys, the PSA 4 versus the PSA 7 or 6 or 8 on those things does not matter. Once you have it in hand, you won't care.
No, and this is just speculation on my behalf, but more recent grades on PMGs they're just really tough. And I wouldn't pay
Text Josh Keen, man. Get him on that.
Yeah, dude, that card very well might be gone if he finds out about it.
And I'm sure he already knows about it. I am afraid to buy it just because I don't know what the market is. Like, if the market closes like $2,000, I'll be setting a very bad example when I should have researched it before just pushing buy. So, but that card may be gone because I buy it. Barry Sanders is the GOAT, but I think earlier PSA grades, and it's the same thing for it's the same thing for other grading companies. Like, I'm not paying more for a PSA 8 that was graded 15 years ago of a PMG than a PSA 4 that was graded last week. I'm not doing that. There's a PSA 4 on a PMG or a PSA 5. That's like, to echo Josh's point, but put a little more context on it from my point of view. It's pretty good. Pretty good. For that card, so condition sensitive. How do you even grade those cards?
Not to brag, but I have a PSA 9 of the Penny Hardaway. I don't know how that happened, but it doesn't look. It's probably more like an 8 in my opinion, but I got lucky.
It happens sometimes.
I was gonna also, because this kind of came up organically in this chat, is like, I love buying stuff that like feels too cheap. Like if you're looking at maybe like a market or a subset of card style or whatever, and you're like, knowing what you know about the market and people paying X amount of dollars for, maybe it's like a prospect or some set that you don't really think is that cool, but people are paying crazy dollars, and you look at something else and you're like, why is Barry Sanders like one of his best cards only whatever? I kind of got that feeling about Charizard recently. I'm like, why is some of this stuff some of these like weird niche ones so cheap? But whatever, that's like the never-ending this is undervalued argument. But
I hear you, man. Okay, so I went to Cardladder's sales history feature.
ooh, there you go.
This card sold for $3,000 in a BGS 7.5 a few days ago. So like in a BGS 7.5 is probably on par with the PSA 4 because of the grading strictness that PSA has for these. So, maybe the card on eBay should be more in the $2,500 to $3,000 range. Here, a BGS 9.5 of that card sold for $13,000. $13,000 for a BGS 9.5 a year ago.
Wow.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah, I feel like I don't get why like a 9.5 of that would be so much more money than a whatever grade. It's just different for us, I guess. That's just kind of how we've been.
Yeah. I still just feel that, no, that's not trashing BGS. That's just acknowledging something that has become apparent a long time ago.
Especially in the 90s. Especially in the 90s. I've crossed a lot of like BGS 8 and 7.5 stuff over the PSA 4 and 5 on that old stuff. That's just the way it is.
Yep, definitely. I don't even think BGS would disagree with that. I just think there's enough examples out there of crossovers and of just how the different standards apply that BGS is more lenient on condition sensitive 90s.
Well, also their subgrade system kind of lends itself to have, in that middle range, the subgrade system mathematically lends itself to having higher grades, because with PSA, they'll take the lowest aspect of the card and it'll bring the entire grade down, whereas BGS, it brings it down, but not to the near effect that PSA does.
There you go, man. We'll see. Like, what'll be a good test? Let's see if naturally, after the show is over, if that Barry Sanders pops into my mind. That'll be a good test.
You're about to buy this thing.
Like, I don't have any Barry Sanders cards. I've developed such an appreciation for the running back position over the last 2 years, and holy crap, I love PMGs.
The hard part about...
I don't own any of those PMGs either.
Yeah, the hard part about buying sort of like what I would say random cards like that, as for you and me, it's a little bit dangerous, because it's like, am I a Barry Sanders collector now? Like, the Jokic thing has me worried about you, because now you're about to go down this like really long path of like becoming a Jokic collector, and that consuming, a lot of your resources.
Well, okay, so there was a question about this too. Okay, so I randomly bought 2 gold LeBrons. You saw one of them last week. You didn't see the other one. The other one was very much an impulse buy that I don't know what I was doing. But so like that taught me a good lesson. Okay, but so you'll see it on the mail, dude, you'll just start laughing. So All right, but Pauly Collectibles wanted to know, did I win the Jokic Prism Gold auction that Josh just referenced? So, like, bear in mind, I bought one Jokic. I bought his 2019 Prism Gold Raw for $400, which I thought was a good price.
Right.
I thought that was a good price. Well, the auction started going off, and I put in $700 as my max, thinking that, you know, that for sure was going to do the trick.
Woo! You've already 4 extra money.
And but this is his MVP year.
Oh, come on. No. That's silly. They're basically the same.
Well, I guess. But this card, and then the winner is a listener of the crossover, but he was collecting Jokic before me. And he was just like, thanks a lot, pal, for putting that card on the scene, on the map. And
So Christina was right. Christina was right. Go ahead and look over there and tell her she was right.
Go ahead.
Should we show Christina?
Go ahead.
All right, Christina, you want to take your bow?
I want to take a bow.
You were right, Christina.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yes. I love that. That's my favorite way to do that. Perfect.
Well done, Christina.
You were like, oh, it's just Jokic, blah, blah, blah. And she was like, dude, shut the fuck up.
Maybe
Lo and behold.
$700 would have took that down. I don't know.
This feels like your little scheme. You know, you buy a card for 400, you talk about it, you endlessly pump it, and now we're gonna see your copy come up on eBay here pretty soon.
Better be careful, Josh. You got an army of lawyers.
Nope, I'm gonna go to PSA and grade it myself first. Give it a 10, and then it will show up. So it was very disappointing that I was not able to. First of all, I think my copy is more like a 7 or an 8. So, but again, with Prism Golds, I don't really care either. But it was very disappointing to miss out on that card. It actually turned me off from building the Jokic Prism Gold collection. So, call off the troops. No need to bid on Jokic Prism Golds anymore. I am no longer a sucker that can fall into your traps.
You're like 400, I'm a buyer. 1700, no thank you.
No, thank you. No, thank you at 1700.
You should just collect non-rookie, non-MVP year gold Prism Jokic's.
Yes, I do. That's my specialty, actually.
That's like the number one reason. There's so many Jordans like that I want to own, just sort of one-offs, and I've fallen for the trap of buying that one Jordan.
Yep.
But I know that if I just keep doing that, it's like, well, now I'm just a freaking broke person that only buys Michael Jordan cards, and that's my life. I don't want to do that.
No doubt. All right. It's frustrating. I used to be very stringently in the camp of like focus on 1 or 2 players, go all the way, build the best collection of that player, and now I find myself having a more scattered collection. Like I've got some Jokic's in the PC. I've got 3 solid PC players from Jordan to McCaffrey to Luka, and then now I'm looking at Barry Sanders. Now I'm looking at and LeBron. I've got 3 LeBrons now that are like valuable LeBrons. The collection is becoming diluted.
You've changed, man. You've changed, man.
I used to like get into arguments with my buddy, the Hobbyist 23. He'd be like, "It's way better to have like 1 or 2 really good cards of like 20 players," and I'm just like, "No." I'm like, have like 20 cards of like 1 or 2 players.
Okay, so that's my collector mind. If you give me a good explanation towards it, then I'll listen, and it's like if I put a cap on myself of 1 to 2 cards, and I give myself a short-term goal of that, but a longer-term approach of every Hall of Famer or whatever, every player you enjoyed, then it's there's more of like symmetry to that than just like the random offshoot that has no place in your PC. So I kind of like that thought.
Yep, no doubt. Okay, Drake's PC says, what are your thoughts on November's grading data from PSA? Is it as expected? Were there any surprises? So let's go ahead, talk about it quickly. 7 million cards graded
to date in 2021. 731,000 graded and shipped in November. Oh, I don't want to do that. Here's what I want to do. I want to go this way. Basketball was the most graded category, followed by Pokemon, baseball, football. The most graded and shipped athlete by sport, Luis Robert, Michael Jordan, Hulk Hogan, Justin Herbert, Tiger Woods, Wayne Gretzky, Serena Williams, Lionel Messi, Charizard, Blue Eyes White Dragon, Space Godzilla, Death Corona. I've never said those words in that sequence before. And Son Goku. And then the stat of the month is that overall Charizard was the most graded and shipped subject of any genre, surpassing even Michael Jordan. So,
Yeah.
Any thoughts? Drake would like to know.
Interesting data. I hope PSA does more of this because it's fascinating. Like, you know, people in the hobby like to know stats like this. They like to know what's kind of going on behind the scenes and getting this aggregate data. So, I think we know they're going to be doing more of this, and this is kind of the first take at it, and it's very fascinating. I think one of the other questions you got was like, are they going to show a breakdown of grade? I'm not sure specifically on that one. I don't think we ever heard whether they would, but I don't know, maybe.
Yep, let's put that into the atmosphere as well. Bruin Killer says, should PSA include the number of grades, such as number of 10s, the number of 9s, on their new data reports? Because he would like to see how many 10s were given out among the 700,000 total cards graded in November. So there's a request there. That post was very popular on PSA's page, nearly 4,000 likes. It's the most liked post you can see that they've got in their recent posting history. People love that stuff. It's transparent, it's insightful, it's fun, it's inspiring even to think about this grading company grading so many cards. It speaks to the size of our industry. Kudos on the post. The more data, the better, right? Is that fair?
Yeah, I think the most interesting content that PSA has is their data. There's a couple ways to approach interesting content. It doesn't have to just be high-end cards, really flashy things. Data is interesting. People like to know what's going on, and seeing numbers kind of puts things into perspective for you and makes things reality, and it's interesting. The PSA 10, PSA 9 thing, I could see why they might hesitate because they don't want the narrative to start building up of like, oh, it's harder to grade now than it was then, when the reality might just be that more modern stuff is being graded today than it was. So like there's more PSA 10s or there's less modern. So there's like, it's not as simple as saying like, the date that they posted is the means of saying that they're easier or harder on the grading. It could be more about like what kinds of cards are being graded. I'm just kind of putting words in their mouth, but I'd still like to see that data.
Definitely. Yep. Good.
Did the graphic, I don't remember, tell how many cards were from the backlog? Because we were told that information, but I wasn't sure.
It was a lot. Yeah, it was a high percentage, right?
Overwhelming majority are from the backlog. That some number. It's like in the FAQ for the return of regular, there were percentages given that some like enormous, like I don't remember what the percentage was. Maybe it was 90% or 80% or something.
I want to say it was like. Yeah.
The overwhelming majority, the super majority of the grading that they're doing is backlog based.
It's like 6 million.
The number we were quoted in a meeting was 600 of the 700,000.
Yeah, I think that's right.
From November, yeah.
Yeah, from November alone.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Cardboard Insights would like to know, what hobbies would you guys be doing today if your childhood cards had been thrown away and you never got back into the sports card hobby?
Ooh, I just got chills. Just
wait, hold on. I need you to be way more specific and translate for me if you have to.
What needs to be translated about that?
Like, basically all the cards that I own today are gone, or like he said childhood. What does that mean? Like certain ones or what?
There's just, maybe this isn't exactly how it worked for you, or maybe it is, but like a lot of people got back into the hobby by like discovering their old cards. And so the premise of this question is like, what if your old cards all got thrown away? You never rediscovered your old cards. Therefore, you never got back into sports cards. You just never got back into the hobby. What hobby would you be? What would you be doing instead? Would you even be doing a hobby?
I wouldn't be doing a hobby, dude. I'm trying to like think of my life before I found the hobby, and I was just like working like some schmuck. I don't know. I can't even, I'm not good at this whole butterfly effect game, you know, like I don't know. I'd probably just be working and coding and I'd be poor probably.
Honda ladder.
No, it's like, I don't even know what I'd be doing. I'd probably be doing more like financial help type stuff. Like I've always just really enjoyed like the living cheaply and sort of like thinking about your long-term future financial stuff. I've talked about that a little bit. I'd probably be doing more of that, I guess. I don't know.
I'd probably be investing in NFTs.
You fucker.
Stole that from the chat. Shout out to Jose.
You would be a very stressed out lawyer right now.
Maybe. I don't know. But there nothing about my life pre-sports cards was involved in collecting. I even had a professor before I got back into sports cards make a comment in class that like collecting is in the American DNA, and I was like, it's not. I don't collect anything. I like less things. I like fewer things. But now I feel completely the opposite about that. But I wouldn't be, dude. I would be not collecting anything at all.
Agreed. Me same. I don't like everything else. Everything else related to the collecting gives me anxiety. Like I just think of like hoarding and collecting books and like all that just sort of makes me really anxious.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, there's something really, really special about sports cards. It's just, I think Luber actually has articulated it best when he talks about all the properties that sports cards have. It's a market, it's a game, it's a collectible, it's culture, it's sports. There's so many neat intersections in sports cards.
I think very simply though, they just look really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Is that seems to be, if you just boil it down, they just look really cool. And I don't know, I can't really think of any other collectible where I just like want to look at it a lot.
How about this? Speaking to that point, I had an epiphany like this today in the car. When I turn off my brain, I like cards even more than when my brain is turned on. There's a reptilian fascination with them. I like them more when I'm not trying to like them.
What?
Does that make sense?
No.
Doesn't. I'm like trying to get on your level and I'm like, yeah, it's fucking deep, man. I don't know what you're talking about.
Like if I'm,
It's not. He's basically saying like when he's not thinking about cards, he's thinking about them more.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying I was on eBay doing checking my save searches like 5 times. and like I just was like I just started looking at the cards, just like I just like how this one looks, and I just want to own it, and I'm not thinking about it. I'm not convincing myself to buy it. I'm not saying, oh, what's the pros and cons of owning this card? I just
Right.
saw it, I liked it, I wanted to own it. No
You're breaking
thought.
it down to like its very raw form of just like, do I like it, and do I want to own this physical thing or not? I keep saying that about cards versus like other stupid assets, and like, do I want to own this thing? It just seems like such a simple question you should ask yourself. And if you don't, and you're only owning it for other reasons, such as to make money, I just don't think it has any staying power.
Mm. Yep. That.
If you don't want to own it, then you won't own it in the future. Like you're just gonna want to get rid of it. Therefore, other people are gonna want to get rid of theirs. It's just gonna be a freaking race to the bottom. Everyone trying to dump it all. But in cards, like people are literally want to own this stuff. Like all the people we know that are collecting it, it's like they just want it in their possession. They were trying to get them all.
No doubt.
Like Pokemon or something.
People are really gonna like not let this one go, Chris. You really dug yourself the hole there.
Of all the ones, that this would be the one.
We need a meme of Chris just like, when I think about cards, I just turn off my brain and cards are my brain. That's what I think of.
Like maybe it would look like this.
I know what picture you're gonna. Oh, never mind.
The card.
I think you have
This is me when I'm looking at eBay.
You have a picture though, like some avatar or some profile pic where you're just like,
Oh yeah, yeah.
God, I hate these new buttons. Yeah, that I do. Okay.
that's the deep thoughtful Chris.
Yep. That was before cards. If you took a picture of me thinking that deeply now that I have cards. Okay. Cards and Candy 911 says, will the sports card industry ever surpass the art industry?
In terms of dollar value?
I don't know. Cards and Candy 911 has posed this question and left it a little open-minded.
I don't know a single, no, maybe one. Maybe like one person who collects art, and I think, this could be what?
The chat is just roasting me right now. Go on.
Yeah, as they should. I think it's like an era-based thing where like cards will eventually overpass it. It just might take a really long time, and the people who control the money in this world are generally like a little bit older, and they prefer art versus cards potentially, and eventually our generation will take over and cards will be the new thing, and then Top Shot will take over cards after that. I don't know, whatever the fuck.
I hope cards never overtake art for the same reason I hope I never overtake Nat Turner as a collector. I need something to be bigger and better. There's just a level of comfort that it provides, that to know that there's always somebody doing, because there is this like weird uncertainty surrounding the hobby that's like, do you really want to be the guy who spent the most money on cards? Do you really want to be the biggest collectibles industry? Do you really want to be that? Or are you more comfortable knowing that there's others out there who are doing it bigger and better, who are setting the trend, who are and you just fit in. You're a part of something, but you're not the pinnacle of it. So I want art to always be the model for us. I'd like it to be that way.
Do you prefer the market state as it is today, in terms of like prices and who's involved in it today, or 2017?
Ooh.
Given that today makes your net worth higher, but it's harder to acquire cards. Like, given that sort of balance.
Oh man, there's just pros and cons each. Do you have a preference?
I don't. It's really, God, I didn't even think to answer it myself. I mean,
Oh, I see. Just throw.
I think it's just relative. I think it's just relative. Like, I think because of the equity I've built up, because I joined earlier, I'm able to kind of still participate in the same fashion that I was in 2017, but it would be really tempting to have, more money back in 2017 and just kind of go crazy and buy whatever you want. But again, like in 2017, nobody thought that way. They didn't think like, oh, I'm 100% certain that in the year 2021, this market will be 10x. Therefore, I should buy everything in sight. You don't ever think that way. You're always sort of like in the current mind state. So the philosophical deep thought of that kind of makes me think I'd rather just have today.
Yeah, I think I'd rather have today as well. We found other ways to enjoy collecting too, shifting to other players, so on and so forth. You can still have just as much fun collecting today, but now the industry itself is so much bigger. There's so much more energy in it. There's so many more opportunities to professionalize in it, if you'd like.
More opportunities, great. I like that.
Yeah. So I think I like it better today, but there's a lot of reasons to like how it was back then also. Not the least of which being that like the very best cards were affordable to a middle-class person, with very, very few exceptions.
Think about it this way. If, like everyone would say like, man, if I went back to 2017, I would just buy everything. That's just like a common phrase. If that was true, then I think there would be some equivalent to that today. Are you buying a shit ton of something today that is going to be, 10x in 2025? No, because you're not, because you don't know what's going to happen in 2025. You're hesitant. You're not just like diving feet first, head first into some crazy new thing. You're usually like a little bit more thoughtful about it. You want to pay market price. Even that Barry Sanders, you're like, well, let's go look it up. I don't want to actually pay $4,000. I want to figure out what it's, it's like you're always in that sort of mindset.
No, yeah, that's the same thing as being in 2017 and like a Jordan 98 PMG comes up and it's like $5K and like I'm like, well, the last one sold at auction at a higher grade for 4,500. So
I think they call that hindsight being 2020, right? Isn't that what they call that?
Exactly. It was like in your interview with Bob Track, he was like, I do have some regrets. He was like, I always just paid market price. Just the cars would come out, and if I could get it for market price, I'd pay it. And even he has like regrets of stuff he didn't buy. But he's like one of the greatest collectors of our industry, and just with reckless abandon acquiring every LeBron one-of-one ever made, basically. And even he was priced out of cards throughout his 20-year run or whatever. So it happens. Damn, I had something else about what it was like back then too, but oh well, I lost it. All right, moving on here.
Plus, I know our collections weren't as good back then than they are today. I want my collection today than
Yeah, no, that's right. It was in the chat. The comment was made too that the community is much better today, and the content is much better today.
It's more optimized. We know what we like, kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, there were these 2 podcasts back then that weren't that great. Luckily, they stopped them.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Damn, I had a point, and usually it comes back to me by now, so it wasn't. Okay. We get these questions. Shout out to our guy David Owens. It's just every week now. This is like a question, but I'll do it again. David Marino and David Owens, the 2 Davids. Here
FedEx 5,000. Talk to your accountant. Is that or no?
No.
Okay, my bad.
What does David Owens ask about pretty routinely? Dude.
David Owens. Something about like Jordan inserts.
Yes. Okay. So David Marino says, thinking beyond PMGs, beyond Noise Boys, beyond Cut Above, what are your favorite?
What's your favorite insert?
What are your favorite 90s insert sets? And then David Owens says, what are your favorite sleeper 90s or parallel sets? Chat
Top 5
too. Let the chat help as well.
David Owens is one of my favorite people in the hobby. He's just like a really down to earth, honest guy. If you ever want to have someone to chop it up with, David's great. Yeah, I go to David when I'm just like I need someone to like complain about something with, and he's great for that. He's just like he's good. I don't know, dude. I always say cut above because I just like I'm not very creative and like coming up with a new answer every time. I just always liked cut above. I like Star Power Supreme. I like Slam, BAMs. I don't know, man. I'm just rattling off stuff that's cool to look at. There's just so much. The other thing about like the 90s, like today it's like you've got like 5 choices of inserts. 90s there's so many. You can't really be wrong.
Yeah, okay, you're right. All right, well, this one comes to mind just because this one recently sold for 10 grand or thereabouts. It's the 1997-98 Upper Deck, and Upper Deck didn't have a lot of great inserts, in my opinion, but this is one of them. It's the Records Collection insert. And the card itself has like grooves. It's an interesting conceptual card. Pop 14. That one just recently set an all-time high. And then Christina wanted me to show this card, Competitive Advantage.
Interesting.
So, oh wow, this is about 6 grand as a PSA 10 now. Christina's always liked this card, so I don't know what that means.
We spent like an entire 30-minute segment like a few months back when people were complaining about everything being too expensive, and we went really deep on Jordan inserts and Jordan different cards and sets. And I thought that was a really fun exploration. So like just go on Cardladder and just search Michael Jordan, 1997 or 1998, and just start browsing what we have because we got a lot of cool Jordan stuff from the 90s, and you can kind of track the value and maybe try to find something that hasn't 10x in the last year, and that's a good place to start.
That's always the place to start. Okay, yeah, competitive advantage. There you go. People seem to like that
Dude,
one.
have you thought about how much more robust our database is now than it was a year ago, and how much more exploration you can do?
Yeah, compared to a year ago.
Because people really like to complain that we don't have every card ever, which I get, and we're gonna get there. But man, we've come a long way.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And still a long way to go. Very long. Like, there's going to be, needs more soccer, needs more TCG, needs more
Baseball, vintage.
need a ton more. But like, people will be happy. Check back with us in a few months. We'll be talking more about how we're growing the database. So, okay. Preston's Cards asks, this question comes in some form or shape once a week too.
All right.
Is it pointless to collect football athletes besides quarterbacks? Parentheses, I collect Aaron Donald.
I mean, if your only goal is to make money, it definitely is. Still, no, I don't think it's pointless either way. No, it's not pointless. Definitely not pointless as a collector because it's a lot of fun. And you can build a freaking badass PC of someone for cheap. Chris can just scroll through his Cardladder collection for CMAC and show you that. It's definitely not pointless. On the, this usually comes at us from the financial aspect. I think one of the other questions we got, maybe you could do this question next, is like, what makes, what sort of things catapult something that's not, that doesn't have a lot of interest with a large group of people, and all of a sudden it does. And that's like the influencer question. But I still feel like, if you believe in like the receiver running back market, and just because it hasn't tripled in value since you started doing it a year, maybe 2 years ago, I still wouldn't necessarily rule it out that might catch on in the future. And if you, like I said, if you just believe in something, stick with it for 5-10 years. You never know. Then that's kind of the next question maybe that you might get to, is like some of that stuff just takes time. And I'm not saying like, that receivers and running backs and defensive players will 10x at some point. I'm just, maybe it will, maybe it won't. It's still fun in the meantime.
Right on. So here's the question that you referenced. Cardboard Insights said, what are the catalysts that cause underappreciated cards to rise in popular demand? Is that like the question you were thinking of?
Yeah, because I think like the easy answer is like, oh, some like influencer bullshit or some like hype train, pump and dump scheme. That's what does it. And that's just like the super boring answer. But the other thought I had, and I would love to hear more of what you have to say about this than what I'm saying, is, maybe like it's like a generational thing, or some like new fad that's sort of, because it's not popular now, it becomes sort of, the anti-establishment, and it does become popular again, and we get this sort of ebb and flow of what is popular at a given time. And like we even referenced that question earlier with like 90s, it was all about vibrant, loud colors, and now potentially it's like the complete opposite. It's muted and simple and bland. And maybe we'll get back to the 90s style, in the art world in the future. You never really can quite predict something 5-10 years out and what's like popular and stylish and stuff. So if you believe in something and you enjoy it today, just stick with it. Don't necessarily give up because it takes a year or whatever.
Yep, I agree. The thing that always comforted me about collecting Michael Jordan inserts, when that was my focus from like 2016 to 2018, and then I shifted into like grails, and I got priced out, and I just stopped and moved on to other stuff mostly. But the thing that always gave me comfort was that it was so obvious to me that I was part of a cohort of people in their 30s who collected during the 90s, who were part of that whole era, who were then had disposable income, and then were returning to the sports card industry and coming back. And like, it was just so obvious and so natural that market was going to continue to support the supply. There's going to be more than enough demand for the supply of those cards, just because it will only take several hundred, maybe several thousand of us to participate in it to make that market flourish. And then also, like, because most of us were in our 30s or like 40s maybe, we were still 10 to 20 years away from our peak earning power, which like a male's peak earning power happens in his early 50s. So like as our earning power increases, we're gonna be able to afford more money to spend on cards. So there was just a really easy, simple formula that suggested to me like this market is gonna be supported for a long time. And then interestingly, inserts kind of, the thing that I didn't see coming was they got a little bit distorted this year because like people started seeing them as investable assets, and it no longer was this group of 30 somethings who were like, just like, I will pay whatever it takes to get this card because it's so nostalgic for me and this is my hobby and I'm just addicted to this. But instead people are coming in like trying to play the market, trying to time it, trying to buy in, trying to sell. And you know, that distorted, it's caused some of the inserts even to go down a little bit this year. But you know, that's how I performed that calculus. So like if I'm looking at Aaron Donald, I have to say like, is there going to be enough people to support the market demand for the cards of his that I'm buying as the years roll by? You know, is that going to exist or not? I have to ask myself that about Christian McCaffrey. Like I have, you know, several of the Prism Golds from his rookie year, and like, is there going to be 10 other people out there who want that card 5 years from now? You know, like that's the question I have to think about. Like, will there be enough demand from set collectors alone? Like when we were looking at Frank Ntilikina, who's like been relegated to the Mavericks bench, but like when we saw that his NT RPA logo man 1 of 1 sold for a few grand, and it was like that card would probably always have a market in the same way that some obscure ass PMG green player will always have a market, just because it just matters and it means something to the hobby and stuff. These are the questions to think about there. Like what, it's not really getting to the question. The question is like, what makes an underappreciated card rise in popular demand? Like, I just gave like a very systemic answer. And then Josh, you touched on like the influencer bullshit. Like, oh, well, you know, if so-and-so holds up the card, then that's going to, you know, or like, if a group of buyers corners the market, like, is that even a market you want to be in? That's an inorganic market. That's a bullshit market.
Yeah, you brought up a ton of great points. And one of the things that has me nervous about some segments today is like people are getting way ahead of that thought process of like, well, in 10 years, you know, Pokemon or TCG kids are going to be, you know, 40 and they're going to be at their potential earning dollars. And, oh, like, you know, hockey and F1 are super underappreciated, but those markets are growing in our countries, and like the popularity through Netflix, and like in 10 years, freaking F1, I'm telling you. And so like people are getting way ahead of that kind of thing and thinking like, I better go buy now. Then it becomes this hype thing where like everyone's buying F1, and that's where it can get a little bit dangerous, especially in the current the current like structure of like investing and flipping and stuff, especially with like NFTs and crypto and stock markets and real estate, as everyone wants to just flip, make money. It can be dangerous because people are just like trying to shortcut all that stuff, and they're hyping stuff up way too quickly, and there is no long-term thought to it. It's just like, how can I make money really fast? But I still think there's a lot of value in like sticking to the kind of the core of what you're saying, which is like, what are things that you think are going to be culturally relevant just like always, and maybe just try to find like a good time to enter that market, and maybe when it's not as hyped, and just kind of stick with it, and whatever you think that market is, whether it's Jordan, you know, Michael Jordan. I believe it's kind of like Charizard and Pokemon to a certain extent, because a lot of my friends that are my age and younger are kind of getting into the hobby now at this point, and they like Pokemon better than they like sports cards. So that's kind of my thought, is like, well, Pokemon will kind of always be there because it was just so big and it continues to be. And it's just like, no matter how much hype it has, I feel like it's still got a pretty stable foundation. I'm just rambling at this point, but I don't know. There's a lot of good thoughts to pick out of there.
Yep, Pokemon also is just the preferred card of kids, like people who are kids right now, and Pokemon seems to have captivated both genders, both the two most claimed genders of male and female, or boy and girl. Girls collect Pokemon too, and so whereas they're not so much into sports cards. So there's just a lot to recommend the long-term arc of Pokemon. But like, there's other issues, like where does it's like I was being told that Was it Magic the Gathering is coming out with like serial numbered releases this year?
Mm-hmm.
And
artistic,
they're some of these TCG categories are building in the artificial scarcity that is going to make those things more collectible to a lot of people, or more investable, you might even say. Yeah, I know, Coleman. I know. That's why I had to correct myself there. So, all right. Well, we didn't even get to like 20 or 30 of the questions. So
hour 3?
No, not hour 3 because we have work to do.
I'm already working. Don't laugh like that.
So, I don't know. Man, we had so many questions this week.
A+ for questions. This is the best question week ever.
Do you think so?
I think so. I do. I don't know. This was just like a home run, one after the other.
Yeah, they were some really awesome questions. Some tough questions too. I usually found the questions tonight to be frustrating because like so many times there just wasn't a good answer, but that makes them, I guess, good questions and good discussions.
Why don't you pick your favorite of what's left?
Okay, scrolling here. There were several questions on Fanatics that we didn't get to. There was lots of.
People in the comments keep saying HGA versus card porn. Do you know what's going on there?
Not really.
Like card porn's attacking HGA for the whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose that topic is pretty salacious. Let's see here.
The show is all about.
Well, we indirectly referenced. So there's like threats to sue and defamation and what's the main issue here? Like,
is it like there's like a bunch of stuff that I haven't been keeping up with that at all.
No, I haven't either. I'm just kind of like trying to parse this. So like, I guess the CEO or the Tyler of HGA said, we have graded close to 500,000 cards. We have 6 known fakes. That's a super low percentage. Other companies have graded fakes too, but they're given a pass because they've been around for longer.
Yeah, good points.
Yep, he goes, I own up to our mistakes, of course, but there are 0 companies that don't make mistakes.
Yep.
Card porn just wants to bash anybody who will listen. It's weird that they never call out the 2 big companies, which, like, that's not true, card porn. I once DM'd card porn. I said, take it fucking easy on BGS. Like, you guys, like, they were, like, driving the fucking nail.
Oh, that whole, like, fake slab thing where they were, like, pointing out the different ways to tell the fake slab, like, nonstop. I remember that.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
That's how, like, they started. Like, that's how they gained traction, I feel like.
Yeah, I remember that.
But, like, they've, said they definitely like PSA the best. They're entitled to do that. It's like Zola points out, and he had a question come in as well. He said, why do we permit card porn to remain anonymous when transparency is so valued in the hobby? Look, I've said that from day one. I've said that from day one that there's a big there's a what's the right fallacy here? There's a problem when somebody is actively policing the hobby and exposing non-transparent people and shedding light in dark places, but it's all coming from a dark place. Who watches the Watchmen? Conflict of interest, risks. How as observers of hobby content, we need to know what biases content creators might have so that we can assess the content that they make through the lens of those biases. These are all like basic, obvious things, but
Hashtag expose card porn.
But on the other hand, card porn has argued that their anonymous nature has allowed them to, call people out with less fear of personal repercussions impacting them.
Yeah,
So it allows them to, make more bold proclamations and and go out on the limb that they might be scared or unable to go out onto if they had to risk damage or injury to their personal identities. So there's two sides to it. I don't know. And as far as this HGA thing, this just seems like a battle of egos at this point. You know, just like, you called me out, and now I'm calling you out. That's all I got.
Yep. I don't have anything. This doesn't really interest me much.
Yeah. Yep. Did you have any, like, 717 Investments just wrote in, could we discuss PWCC's monthly auction? There were some neat all-time highs that got set, but
I heard that it's doing pretty well. That's all. I watched this. I bought one card from it. I'll show it next week. I'm excited about it. Really excited about it, actually. I don't know. Through like people that I know bidding on it, I've heard that they're kind of slowly ticking up since leaving eBay and performing fairly well. I had some of it up on the screen. I don't know if we had time for it earlier because I do some of the first hour on my computer, but we never got to it, which is fine. I think they're doing pretty well. I think it was doing well from what I saw.
I mean, there you go.
Train keeps moving, man. People are still buying cards. Cards set all-time highs every day. You know that more than anyone.
Yeah.
Some cards are going down. Pops are going up. Like, it's just kind of the same kind of stuff. Different day. It's just a little bit quieter now with the holidays, and you know.
Yep. Yeah, exactly right. People should kind of understand that too if they don't already. It's not overcomplicated, you know. People, you know, maybe you have maybe you spend $2,000 a month on cards, but in the month of December, you spend that $2,000 towards gift giving. That's a completely plausible, typical situation that a lot of people encounter.
Yeah.
So
sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, be careful shipping stuff around this time of year if you're getting packages out to get graded or you're sending stuff for deals. Just be a little bit careful because, you know, holiday season's when the busiest time of year for shipping and the most thefts and stuff like that. So just kind of, if you can hold off to make a deal or ship something till after the new year, even for like tax purposes, think about that as well. I would recommend potentially waiting until after, second week of January or whatever.
No doubts. Eddie says they've been busier than ever. So, maybe that's
What the
because
fuck do I know?
Eddie. Maybe that's because they're taking advantage of the liquidity program that you're offering. So they're able to buy their gifts and take loans against the depressed December market values of their cards, so that when they go to pay you back in January, February, March, they'll be well ahead. And maybe that's a loophole that they've discovered there. Cardfather13 says, Josh and Chris, will Cardladder have a booth at Culture Collision in Atlanta in February? No. The answer from Christina, resounding no.
Chris is like, I don't plan things, so Christina saved me.
Like, ask me a few hours before the events. Then
he probably won't know.
You could also make any narrative you want using data at any point of the year with any segment of the hobby. You could be like, all cards are going down, says the person looking at Michael Porter Jr. PSA 10 base prisms. All cards are going up, says the person looking at, whatever is the hot thing of the day. It's just, that's kind of part of the little fun of the hobby, is people making proclamations globally when we know in reality it's case by case.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
Apparently, Jokic gold prisms are on the rise. I didn't know about that. They go from 400 to 1,800. Freaking crystal ball over here. Look at this guy.
Never been priced out of a market in 12 hours before, so that's a new one for me.
I think Chris Paul's cards are going to the moon. I foresaw that, obviously. That's why I invested so much money into it.
I mean, dude, I was thinking about that the other day. I was like, could you really ask for a better scenario than getting very excited about a player and then him playing at MVP level and leading the team with the best record in the league. You know, that's kind of like the dream scenario for anybody collecting an active player. It's like they're a little bit under the radar, then the season starts and they're just balling uncontrollably, as Eminem once said.
Yeah, I just need Devin Booker. Did the Lakers win?
They did not look like they were. No, they got absolutely wrecked.
And
Dude.
Davis collapsed in the tunnel. He couldn't. His weight, like his knee, couldn't hold his weight.
I'm so sick of that fucking team. That thank God for the Suns to like hold my freaking anger from the freaking Lakers. They're a disaster.
Yeah, but you know what? It's so early right now.
I've seen enough. No, it's over. I don't care. I don't want to hear that. They're such a disaster.
Yeah,
They
I
brought
won't
in
try to,
Isaiah Thomas. Like, what? In what world is that a good idea?
because they don't have COVID stuff is a big issue right now.
I just
Oh.
think Davis
Their best
always hurt.
option?
Yeah, you know, I was looking at PWCC results. So a 17 Prism Gold Jokic sold for 2200. Sold for 20. Oh fuck.
2,200.
Yeah, $2,200 is a BGS 9.5. I'm looking at the Cardladder sales history tab right now. So like, I think I just got mine at just way too low of a price. I think that's pretty much what happened. Like,
What you're saying is
that market was already pretty strong.
you should probably start like a top 5 segment of just, you know, the way you see the market and like how your visionary mindset is just like driving all future decision making for the market. I think you need to start some sort of sub content for that.
Now might be a good time for me to roll out my new analytic formula. I look at 538 and I marry it with the card market and some of the advanced analytics that only I have access to. And I put it into a spreadsheet, and here the results came out in this fashion. Miles Turner is a top investment property. Justice Winslow as well.
Mitchell Robinson.
And Mitchell Robinson actually was the top performer in my proprietary formula. So, you know, I didn't want to do that now. We're gonna do a YouTube special, but might as well just put that out there now.
Can you can you show the people? Can you show the people our favorite content creator of the week?
No.
Who is our favorite content creator of the week?
What's up?
Oh, come on, man.
Oh, duh. Fuck, I forgot what they're called.
I don't know if you can, dude. I don't know if you can so bad.
Dude, come
That's
on.
a copyright infringement.
I won't let the noise get played. And those who know. What's the
I don't.
What's the name of the account?
It's like-
It's with an R.
Yeah, it's like Rockstar Productions or something. Rockstar Productions or something.
Let them go find it. It's so much better if they just go find it themselves.
I know. I just don't remember the name.
Christina really does not want us to show this.
I've never. That's. I mean,
You don't want me to show it?
No.
Okay, Christina's like dead serious right now. Do not show it.
I got Chris while we were in California. I showed Chris this video. This like TikTok guy who's so funny. I showed Chris. The guy, Chris, you were crying. You were like literally, like totally gut laughing, crying, and all of us were crying because you were crying. It was just like, oh my gosh, this is the funniest shit I've ever
That's
seen.
right up my alley. That's the
Wait.
super dumb humor
Josh
that I
and
love.
Chris, where was Christina during this belly full of laughs?
We're
Sleeping.
We're sleeping.
No, I was in our hotel room doing the sales, you jerkwad.
Well, you were sleeping when I left.
She was waiting for. She just went to sleep so that you would leave, so she could have some time to herself.
Probably. We won't tell Christina that you showed us. Everybody wants to see it. You guys might be very disappointed. Like, if you don't have an incredibly juvenile sense of humor.
They're watching crossover into hour 3. They will appreciate it.
It's just like these kids that like.
Will our corporate friends appreciate you guys showing it? Probably not.
They're not still watching.
Yeah, it's just like these kids that have this like TikTok account where they make fun of people who create YouTube content around like, you smash that like button. All right, guys, let's make this amazing video. Here comes the the hook and line. Here comes the freaking bass drop intro. Let's go, guys. He's making fun of that, and it's just so good.
Yeah, it is good. The self-defense guy, no, but that guy's very, very good as well. Do you know about that
Have you?
guy?
No, I don't know about this guy. I don't know about that. Oh no, I do. Yes.
Okay.
Where he's like, all you gotta do is like elbow the guy in the face and take the gun from him, and it's like, what? I've seen the TikToks where it's like the guy trying to do that, but it's like you're just gonna get shot in the head if you do that.
He dies.
Or he's like in heaven, right? He's like,
He's like every step I take.
oh yeah. Dude, TikTok is really dangerous because it is actually super addicting and pretty damn enjoyable.
No, you can get lost on there for like a couple hours, and then you're like, wait, what? I was supposed to be doing something right now.
I found that kid that we're not allowed to show. I found him on TikTok, and then I was like, oh my god, this is like the next hour of my life. Yes, this one.
Okay, hold on. I need to turn on the volume.
All you gotta do, the guy's pointing a gun at your stomach.
Pull the trigger. Good. So right now, he can't pull the trigger because I blocked it.
Because I blocked it.
Right here.
Okay, this is right here. This is great.
Everything you got.
That guy's like got a really good that guy's a really good sport about it too, you know.
So he's making like reaction videos to his reaction videos.
Yeah.
The guy's probably
Hilarious.
doing like appearances at nightclubs and stuff, just totally cashing in.
If you want to like really be mad at me tomorrow, just go on TikTok and just start watching it, and you're gonna be like, God, it's so good, but I hate you.
No, I've resisted TikTok for this long.
You should, dude. Cole got me into it on the New York trip, and now I'm like, God damn it, I can't
Oh,
help
you're
it.
like fresh to TikTok?
I'm brand new, and I only follow like 3 accounts, and one of them
Huh? What are you saying?
I only follow like 3 accounts, and one of them is that one I showed you, and it's just like, well,
So you just see that guy all day?
Is another one Cardladder?
For
no, you see more. You see more than you follow. That's just like what you. It's all about like TikTok's algorithm. Where they show you like an infinite feed of funny stuff.
But you should still be following Cardladder.
Mm-hmm.
He takes a sip.
Yep.
Okay.
I knew we had a TikTok. I knew that.
Yeah, I'm sure you did.
Okay. All right. So, all right. That's gonna do it here for this week's show. Should we plan on I mean, nobody cares until December 24th anyway. But should we plan on a December 24th?
I mean, I'm down.
I'm down too.
I'll bring the seltzers over to my in-laws, and we'll freaking figure it out.
Then I get to show all my mail days, including.
Well,
I won't even tease anything. It's going to be a lot of mail days.
You guys need to get rest because tomorrow's a big day.
Tomorrow's a big day. Tomorrow is a very big day. Santa costume. I think some people in the hobby have already cornered the market on wearing Santa costumes.
Yeah, you will never see me in any type of costume.
That's an affront to Santa, okay? Like, there is only one Santa Claus, and he was not it. So, let's stop. It's not Halloween.
Will the real
It's
Santa
Christmas.
Claus please stand up?
That is a real shame because I've met a bunch of them at different malls around the country.
Yes.
I thought they were helpers or whatever, but you have to wear a beard. You can't just sit there and like wear the Santa costume without a beard.
I don't know where for his gun showing. Because boy doesn't like to wear sleeves.
All right. Good show. Thanks everybody for tuning in. See you guys Christmas Eve.
Cardladder, the best sports card app on the market. The future of sports cards is here. Cardladder is the 21st century price guide and market analysis tool for sports cards. The best tools to help you track your cards. Watch the trends, stay informed, compare cards, and track the growth of your personal collection, all in one simple and intuitive platform. Join the innovators, not the imitators. The future is here. The future is now. Cardladder.